Alright, Stevie J from AngryMarks.com with your Ultimate Fighter Season 17 Episode 1 notes. These are the elimination bouts. 28 fighters, 14 advance, and Dana White said we're going to have 2 wild cards come back this season. So that's how you're going to get a full 16 fighters. But for now, 14 advance to the house. We start out with Jake Hewen versus Adam Cella. Adam Cella wins by getting an arm bar. Zak Cummings versus Nick Fichetti. And Fichetti gets knocked out just seconds into the fight when he throws a kick and doesn't keep his hands up. Next fight was Eldon Sproat versus Kevin Casey. Casey advances to the house by way of rear naked choke. Scott Rosa versus Tor Troeng, aka Thor. Troeng gets a rear naked choke submission and moves on to the fighter house. Clint Hester versus Fraser Opie. Hester advances via decision. He is a good wrestler, and Jones is very geeked about getting him on his team because he had a pretty sweet suplex during his fight. Ryan Bigler versus former guest of this show, Bubba McDaniel. McDaniel gets the win when Bigler gives up his back and stops fighting back, and Herb Dean is forced to make the save. Josh Samman versus Leo Burser. Burser, unfortunately, was completely overwhelmed in this fight by Samman. He was there to represent for Native Americans, but whenever they say that, they end up losing. So Burser becomes the latest victim of that statement. Keto Andrews versus Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum was getting pretty well beat up in the first round, but had enough conditioning to last it out and get some takedowns in the second round, and he eventually advances by decision. Jimmy Quinlan versus Mike Persons. Quinlan advances via TKO. And he was getting major props from both the coaches on his hands and his slams. Jones called him the best wrestler of anybody he'd seen fight so far. Uriah Hall versus Andy Enns. This was probably the fight of the entire show. Most competitive, most fun to watch. Uriah Hall does a lot of sweet moves. He's got a lot of spin kicks and he's got a lot of power. But Andy Enns was a gamer who never gave up. He was always going for stuff throughout the fight. He even got some takedowns, but unfortunately, Hall just was able to outlast him and do more damage, and he advanced via the decision. Gilbert Smith versus Eric Whalen didn't last too long. Whalen tapped out, Smith advanced. It was pretty one-sided. He got him to the ground, advanced position, was looking for submissions, got the arm triangle choke, and that was all she wrote. Nicholas Coring versus Luke Barnatt. Luke is a tall drink of water from England. Coring is a fighter who's been wanting to do this since he was 15 and a half years old. Yeah, he actually said and a half. And Barnatt was a favorite with the coaches based on his size and power. It went to a decision, but Luke Barnatt advanced. Dylan Andrews versus Tim Williams. This one got cut down to just the highlights, and Andrews edged out a decision. Collin Hart, a.k.a. The Dick, versus Mike Jasper. Hart got a very quick rear naked choke to advance to the house. After that, we got the team picks. Sonnen picked Luke Barnatt first, and Jones picked Clint Hester first. The rest of the picks went like this. Sonnen picked Uriah Hall, Jones picked Josh Samman. Sonnen picked Cummings, Jones picks McDaniel, which you had to expect because Jones has McDaniel as a training partner at his gym. Sonnen picked Thor, Jones picked Gilbert Smith, a.k.a. Roy Jones Jr. Sonnen took Jimmy, Jones took Collin, Sonnen took Kevin Casey, Jones took Adam, Sonnen took Kelvin, Jones took Dylan Andrews last, and Dylan's actually happy about it because he says he gets to fly under the radar. Since Jones lost the coin toss, he gets to pick the first fight instead of the first fighter. That was Sonnen's decision. He wanted the first pick. So Jones picks as the first fight, Gilbert Smith against Luke Barnatt. That's it for TUF 17's debut episode. I'm Stevie J, and after this video is a graphic showing you who's on which team, so check for that when I'm done speaking. Good night, everybody.